I think in the past few years, our story has really been one of God's faithfulness. You know, we valued really early on the importance of giving back to God and to His ministry and to His people. And I remember a sermon that your dad gave that talked about the 10-10-80 plan, where you give 10, you save 10, and then you live on 80% of your income. I think it was about a year before we got married, we started giving 10% on the dot each of our paychecks, and we made it an important value that was something that we were going to establish going into our marriage, is that we were going to give our time, we were going to give our treasure, and make God's kingdom and His people a priority of ours.
And it was amazing, like, how God had opened our hearts to just love on people in the process of, and seeing how our finances could be because they were a blessing from God. Like, we were being good stewards of the money that He'd given us, and that we could bless our friends and do something good for them in seasons when they were struggling. And we knew that they would do the same for us, and it was just kind of cool to see what God would do. And we weren't expecting anything back, but just to be faithful and continue to just be faithful in our giving.
Within 2 to 3 years of us being married, we paid off my car, my student loan paid for. We paid off your school.
That's the first thing Dave Ramsey says, is that this is the one area that God has asked us to test Him in. No other area has He asked us to test Him in our faith, or what He'll do, but except our finances. I think because that's such a crazy concept, giving money to God. You don't always see what happens with that money or where it goes. And it's almost like the biggest leap of faith, because the money is what you need to survive on. And so God's just asking you, just trust me in this. Just trust me with your finances, just 10%, and see what I'll do. And every time it's been tenfold. Whatever we give, it's tenfold. Whatever we've provided, God's provided other things in other areas for us, and surpasses what we even dream He's going to do.
It's amazing how many times God catches us off guard with His provision, because I remember going into this year, we were talking about maybe me going back to school for my MBA. We kept wanting to buy a house, but we could just never find the right time or the right paycheck to be able to afford it. And late last year, we talked about starting a family.
All the things that we've been dreaming about, that we wanted, God just provided this way for it to happen all at once. I mean, we keep pinching ourselves because we're like, are we sure we're ready to do a baby, a house, and your school? But, we just have to keep trusting God, and just He's been so good, so faithful to us, and every time we've needed Him, He's come through. And I think that lesson just becomes stronger every time, every year He does something. No matter what He's doing, and we can't always see what He's doing. I love what you said in your God Talk. So we don't always see what God's doing with His hands, but we can trust that He's working for our good, and that He loves us, and He wants to continue to bless us and walk alongside us through every journey in our life.
What's been important in our story is just listening to God every time that He challenges us, because He'll challenge you and He'll stretch you thin, both time and financially. But God always has a reason, whether it's to bless you in the end or to bless someone else. It's always worth it. And I'm just so grateful for the times where, in the moments of doubt, where we're like, God, we don't have that kind of money, we don't have that kind of time. God's like, hey, I really need you to do this right now in this season. When we listen, He really makes a way, and He really blesses us and others along the way.
It's really taken time for us to allow God's voice to be so much stronger and to be the more powerful voice in our lives than our own inner voices, because it's been scary. There's definitely moments of doubt when we've decided to start a family. Both of us were like, are we ready for this? Do we want to give up our little freedoms here and there? But again, when God, and we're like, God, we don't have a house, we don't have this, we don't have the job that we need to provide for a little one. Just trusting when God was saying, just trust me, listen to me. But hearing God's voice and allowing it to be so much louder than our inner voice, was the voice of fear and being afraid and scared of what was going to happen. Just trusting God and seeing what he could do.